Morning, Lester. Thank you for coming on. Now, I was alerted to it's been on Twitter quite a lot. A lot of people are passing this video around, showing it, and I've noticed your comments on it. So what I'll do is I'll play the video so everyone can see it, and then we'll talk about it after that. So this is an interview with Keir Starmer from Sky News.
Over the last 24 hours, an MP of yours, Nadia Whittome, has deleted a tweet in which she wrote, "Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister isn't a win for Asian representation." Your spokesman says she was told to delete that tweet. Was that your instruction?
Well, let me be very clear with you about the position of the Labour Party. And I was able to say that at Prime Minister's question, which was to welcome the first British Asian Prime Minister as a real milestone for our country. And it shows that in Britain, whatever your race, whatever your beliefs, your dream can come true. And I was very pleased to be able to say that in the House of Commons today. I said it last night to Rishi Sunak. We had a private call last night, and the first thing I did was to congratulate him for being a Prime Minister of British Asian, descent, etc. And it's really, really important that I did that.
On that point, though, did you tell Nadia Whittome to delete that tweet?
Well, the position of the Labour Party is the position that I have set out. The whole of the Labour Party supports that, and we're very, very pleased to do so. And that's why I said that this is part of what makes us so proud to be British.
Now, Lester, what I found unbelievable from that clip was that he phoned up. He says he phoned up Rishi Sunak and he said, "Congratulations for being the first Prime Minister of Asian descent, etc." I couldn't get my head around the fact that he said etc. At the end. It sounded like he had absolutely no interest in that at all. What did you take from his interview there?
Well, it was pretty much the same as he said in the beginning of PMQ's Prime Minister's questions, where he came out with this line that the appointment of Rishi Sunak to Prime Minister sort of shows that regardless of race or beliefs, that anyone can achieve their dream. It's absolute nonsense. I mean, apart from the privileged background of Rishi Sunak, essentially what Keir Starmer is saying is he's being dismissive of structural racism because we have many reports, including commissioned by this Conservative government, which is showing the extent of that. Black people are twice as likely to be in poverty and twice as likely to be unemployed as their white counterparts. But it's also a complete lack of recognition of the lack of social mobility that we have in this country, and we know that situation too, and we know that as well inequality increases, social mobility decreases, and we never had very much of it anyway. In fact, we're one of the lowest rates of social mobility in the Western world. So we know that we've got a problem with social mobility. We know we've got a problem with structural racism, and a problem with Keir Starmer's statement, which he keeps repeating over and over again, including directly to Rishi Sunak, as he said in that video, is that if you are relying on this idea that with talent, if you try and make it, you can make it, you can achieve your dream. Then what's the point in actually having any policies to tackle wealth inequality, or indeed any anti-racist policies to tackle structural racism? There's no point if you actually believe that the problem is actually with the individual, and if only they sort of pull themselves up by their bootstraps, then everything else would fall into place. It's just utterly ridiculous, because Britain isn't a meritocracy by any stretch of the imagination.
And you mentioned as well in your tweets about the Sewell report. Can you tell us a bit about that and how that relates to what he was saying?
Well, what the Sewell report was trying to do was it was trying to put in the bin all of the other reports that have come out in the recent past, which was talking about evidence-based reports on racism in the labour market, in a whole range of different areas, asylum and immigration, etc. And it was actually trying to replace it with the narrative of class and place. So it was actually saying it's not about race. The reason why black people are, have such terrible statistics when it comes to racial disparities, is actually nothing to do with their colour. It's actually, to do with their geography, where they happen to be, etc. So, that's what the Sewell report was trying to do. It was widely discredited by pretty much everyone, not just the usual suspects, but the British Medical Association were laying into it. Everyone had completely ripped it to shreds. Obviously it didn't stop Tony Sewell himself actually being made a lord, but that's another matter. And I think that what Keir Starmer was doing was he was buying into the narrative that was actually coming out of the Sewell report, which was has no credibility whatsoever. Which is that basically there isn't racism in society, and that kind of fits very much in with the pattern that we've seen from Keir Starmer in terms of ignoring the recommendations of the Ford report, which he himself commissioned, which found that there's a hierarchy of racism in the Labour Party. He's managed to achieve the incredible feat of actually turning pretty much all of the African and Caribbean MPs against him. Many of them have actually been protesting outside Labour conference, protesting outside Parliament over Labour Party's failure to tackle that. We've had the blocking of a very popular candidate in Camberwell and Peckham. We've had Labour completely ignoring the evidence in the Al Jazeera documentary, Labour files, and we reported at The Voice just the other day that the one thing that Labour parties are saying, which which is supposedly in their favour, which is that they've developed a code of conduct to tackle anti-black racism. Well, that itself actually was pretty much a disaster because black staff weren't actually consulted until after it was already written, and it wasn't even that good. It doesn't even have a definition of what anti-black racism actually is. So anybody who actually sees that code of conduct, is likely to just simply be confused about it. So what that shows is that there's a complete unwillingness to tackle anti-black racism in the Labour Party. There's a complete unwillingness to engage with what the black MPs are telling them, and if we're looking at the selections for safe and winnable seats in the Labour Party, there's not a single African or Caribbean person who's been selected who isn't already an MP. So everything is moving in the wrong direction. I think that actually, even though Labour doesn't seem to care very much about the situation, it will possibly have an impact in the next general election, not least because African and Caribbean people, and indeed people of colour in general, are not just in the safest inner city seats. They're also in key marginals as well. And I think it's actually quite dangerous for the Labour Party to actually be ignoring this and just assuming, well, they're the most loyal part of the electorate, so they've got nowhere else to go, which is something that we've been hearing from different people. It's just unacceptable. I think it's a growing crisis within the party. And after losing the Red Wall, after losing Scotland, I just don't think that Labour is really in a position to be assuring that anybody is nailed on, guaranteed supporters forever, regardless of what they do. The other thing as well, which I just mentioned, is that there's been a complete lack of development of race equality policy as well, which is a complete reversal from where we were in 2019. I know it wasn't the most successful manifesto ever, although many of the policies were popular in their own right. But the Labour Party actually promised in 2019 to eliminate racial disparities in employment, which is a very big, aim indeed. What we've got now is the only policy that I have heard, and I've been trying to pay attention to this, is the Labour Party want to bring in ethnicity pay monitoring, which is simply a data gathering exercise, which is supported by the CBI and Theresa May. So it's not most radical at all. And the fact is that actually the vast majority of, not the vast majority, but the majority of black workers are actually in the private sector, which is not covered by public sector equality duties. The private sector is pretty much left out of equalities law, apart from when discrimination actually has already occurred. And so there's a reluctance, I think, for the Labour Party to go down this road of tackling capital, tackling racism in the private sector, lack of recognition about the impact that outsourcing has made, in terms of race inequality, and actually, a complete unwillingness to put this into the wider context of growing wealth inequality that affects everyone as well, because it's part of a wider picture. So I'm quite pessimistic about what the next manifesto for Labour will actually contain. But actually, what we've said, the Voice, is that they cannot just say, oh, we're going to introduce a Race Equality Act with no flesh on the bones, and in order to lead the community up a garden path, and at the end of the path they find that there's really nothing apart from the lowest hanging fruit to offer the community. Because if they're not offering to tackle structural racism in society, then they're really not offering anything at all.